Welcome back to Havana Media. My name is Professor 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏, and as usual, I'm going to be your host for today. It is very surprising and it is very nice this morning. And it's a Monday. By the way, it's Monday for those who do not know. Some people think that we are still on Sunday. It's Monday, and it's another very beautiful week that we want to discuss what is happening. And we've started with what happened just yesterday when 𝗪𝗏𝗃𝐻 decided to tell William Ruto that you are in that office as the president because of the elections or because of the votes that the people of the Mount Kenya gave you. And he was telling William Ruto that, please, my friend, if you are really tired with me as your deputy president, come here to 𝗪𝗏𝗃𝐻 and tell these people that you are tired with me as your deputy president, so that the people can also know your stand. So that is what I want us to discuss, and many more of the snakes and all that. But just before we jump into our discussion, I have good friends of mine here. I've got Dan Lukorito. He's the snake man. He'll tell us his name and also what he represents. And then we jump to our great friend, Professor Fred Ogola. Karibu.
Asante sana. You just called me snake. I don't know why. But I'm happy to be here this morning. Looking forward to a very educative and fruitful discussion. Thank you.
Mr. Fred Ogola.
Yeah, mine is to thank you, our viewers, that as we speak, please just subscribe to Havana Media. Don't touch any button. If you are watching us, touch nothing until it ends, because I'm sure this is going to be an engaging discussion. You hear one of my friends wants to clear this title called Snake. Many people have avoided it, but I want to tell him and to encourage him. Jesus also attributed intelligence to a snake. So a snake is not as bad as people want to say.
Wow, I know this conversation by this is going to be very lively. So please, as you're watching this conversation, make sure you watch it up to the end. Now, let us now just jump into our discussion. I just wanted to have an open discussion, because we all know what is happening in the country right now. But first thing first, I want us to start with this issue of the impeachment of the Deputy President 𝗪𝗏𝗃𝐻 Gachagua. Now, today in the morning, there is a statement that was made by the Senator of Makueni, I think, if I'm not wrong, Dan Manzo, and he said that if at all the presidents or people are working on how Deputy President can be impeached, then it means that the president should also be ready to go with him, because the president has done worse things more than the deputy president. And also Gathoni, I've heard Gathoni saying that William Ruto chose 𝗪𝗏𝗃𝐻 as his deputy president, or as running mate, and that is where all these problems started from. But Prof, just before Mr. Honorable Dan tackles that, I have a question to ask. Why is it that in this country we have got two things that does not mix? That is riches and integrity.
Because you see, what happens is that you see, when you hear somebody is a billionaire, the question is, how much do they have to earn per month to eventually become billionaires? Of course, they'll tell you about asset appreciation, isn't it? But what is the denominator? You see, if the highest salary in Kenya, official salary, working for government, the highest is 2 million shillings, because that's the salary of the president. Of course, if you go to the private sector, the Coop Bank CEO is the highest paid. He earns 26 million shillings a month. Then you can now go to KCB CEO, then you go to Safaricom CEO. They earn 18, 20 million shillings a month. But you see, that money, CEO is a very short shelf life sort of position. So you don't earn for more than 6 years. Because, for example, the CEO of Safaricom, they don't stay for long, they get changed. So for that matter is that there must be certain ways to make money. But I also know so many people in this country who are running a very big organization where they say they're actually minting money. But if you look at how they have made their money, you also find a lot of questions around it. You saw, for example, Equity Bank was one of the banks that began here just like a building society. I'm very proud of Equity Bank anyway. But nevertheless, there were some always questions how they used to make money using, where even they used to sort of work together with the central bank on how the dollar, the pounds, and all these things. So there's a rule of the thumb, and there's what is called the law of nature. The law of nature has it that someone cannot be that wealthy, because if you go to the West, Obama became very wealthy, but after his presidency, because of the social capital he built. Trump became wealthy, but Trump became wealthy because of what he has done before in these shows and the rest. But then if you look at how people make money by law of nature, even if you say you are a superhuman being, those who are calling themselves billionaires, no billionaire in Kenya can explain transparently how they made their money.
So there's no one who can become rich with that like clear information on how he has gained his.
No, you
his
can, but currently in Kenya, actually Dan meant in Kenya.
Yeah, in Kenya.
There is no one who can be able to explain. That's why you see rich people don't go on TV to discuss about their wealth. If you go to Elon Musk, he can explain to you how he acquired Twitter, how he was able to offload shares, isn't it? Create a vehicle for investment, then people put their money and then he was able to acquire and run Twitter. Yeah. But in Kenya here, if you ask very well, there must be some people who had privileges. You saw the wealthy people like Njenga Karume. They said they grew from charcoal to gold. So how many Kenyans are doing charcoal businesses that have turned charcoal to become gold? Some people say from grace to grass, from grass to grace. Yeah. These books written don't look like what they are. Look, making losses is common even in drugs business. There are people who sell drugs and are making losses. Look at Moi's family. They have KTN suffering. Standard Media Group is suffering. There's some of the business suffering. You saw Moi's grandson being jailed for not being able to take care of their children. So Moi did the beautiful thing where he was trying to separate business from family. And that's why if you are not really in a family business working, you might actually struggle economically. And you find Gideon is among very smart businessmen. You see, he's made some money in the energy sector. But if you look at the real wealth of Moi as the former president, you might not attribute them to some very legitimate businesses which were done. But he also created a business empire. And that's why we're having a problem now that William Ruto wants to be a richest man with no business being run. Go to Gachagua. I'm talking about these people. Gachagua said one time that he was having 7.5 billion shillings that was taken to him from him by Uhuru Kenyatta. Yeah. But then Gachagua does not run a business. Do you know how many businesses in Kenya can make a net profit of 7.5 billion shillings? How many employees must you have? How many offices must you have? William Ruto is now richer than KCB, Equity Bank, and Safaricom combined, isn't it? But if he's richer than KCB, Safaricom, and Equity Bank combined, which business does he run to become wealthy? So I'm trying to say, to echo Dan's point, is that it is possible to become wealthy legitimately. Yeah. But there must be something like, let's say, someone finding out a company like Google. You know, Google, how Google make money is totally different. Look at Steve Jobs became rich with Apple, isn't it? Pixar, Walt Disney. Yeah. These ones were corporations behind him. So for these Kenyans who are telling us that they become politicians, and then you hear that when they are declaring their wealth, that I'm 2.3 billion worth, isn't it? That I'm 580 million shillings worth.
How did you manage to
How
get that?
did you manage to make that money as an MP? An MP's salary is not that much, isn't it? If you talk about asset appreciation, and remember these people have to give handouts every weekend to citizens and to their local. So I'm asking myself, then if this appreciation you came as an MP when you are barely even 20 million worth, and then within a short time, you are 580 million worth. And this is net, isn't it? Because net worth is net, it's not negative. How have we acquired this money? So people cannot explain clearly where their money is coming from. But also, I'm not trying to tell people don't work hard because you can't explain. If you can explain it. That's why everyone fears taxes. That's why you see, do you know why politicians never ever want to be outside government? Because the wealth you have, you cannot explain. Whenever you are away from government, then you will be asked to explain. That's why whenever there's any politician who will insult a head of state, tomorrow you hear they are bankrupt. This was done against 𝗬𝗃𝗧𝗏. Whenever 𝗬𝗃𝗧𝗏 opposed the government, front page, auctioneers were in 𝗬𝗃𝗧𝗏's home. James Orengo, he was always there. That's why even sometimes I feel for him, because they went through very hard times. These people, even the government used to give you a loan, which you are not supposed to pay. You only pay when you oppose the government. Like now, William Ruto running this government, he's made some wealthy people look at what they were flashing, those watches, those cars. How could they make them within a shorter period like 1 year?
1 year.
So it means that even what Rigathi Gachagua is crying about is that he's unable to operate outside the government. When you hear they are being impeached, do you think Rigathi Gachagua is concerned about losing his salary as a deputy president?
No.
So what is he worried about?
How he will explain all the wealth that is
the wealth
acquired.
that he has made. He knows immediately he's impeached. The 7.5 billion shillings he has to explain.
Now,
the cases he has to explain. That's why everybody fears being away from government. Even Raila Odinga, whether he runs against the president or not, he has to find a way to come back into government through another way. So I'm not saying Raila Odinga has stolen anything. I'm trying to say that most of the people in Kenya who are wealthy cannot explain. For example, how can Raila Odinga explain that he's the only one with a gas company that does quality assurance for all the gas cylinders in Kenya? Is he the only one who knows how to do quality assurance about gas cylinders in Kenya? The flower farms, which were started by President Moi, you are either in government to be able to take flowers abroad, isn't it? Or you are closer by as a business associate. So people have used the state to make money, and therefore they cannot explain their wealth, and that's why you cannot be able to attribute. Because Kenya, there is no big discoveries like the ones we have been done, like in the US. In the US, we talk about the Silicon Valley, isn't it? The Silicon Valley companies. Do you have any Silicon Valley company in Kenya that can make wealth to that much level? Like now, as now you are live on TikTok. TikTok is making money as we go, isn't it? Google can make money like that. Is there any Kenyan who can make money like that? If you start restaurants, how many restaurants do you need to operate to be able to have a net?
So many of them. And so for that, even that restaurant to catch up, it will be...
Yes.
Now, Mr. Dan, let us just now jump into our discussion. And I think I had mentioned it before, and Professor also just touched on it. Do you think... okay, let us start with where did exactly, for everybody to understand, this narrative of Gachagua's impeachment. 𝗏𝗏𝗏 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 have said it in the morning today that this issue started a long time ago. Immediately, William Samoei Ruto appointed Rigathi Gachagua to be his running mate. That is when all these things began, because we know very well that William Ruto, for him to become the president, he only had one option: to choose a deputy president from the mountain. That was the only way, Professor. So when now it came to the time that William Ruto was to choose one of these among, because I know we had got Ndindi Nyoro there, we had got Kithure Kindiki, we had got Alice Wahome, and now we had got Rigathi Gachagua. Now, purposely, for his own reasons,
even Anne
Waiguru, yes, thank you.
Considered.
So purposely, William Ruto, by his own reasons, he decided to take Rigathi Gachagua. So immediately he took Rigathi Gachagua. All these people started feeling like Rigathi Gachagua is not fit to be the deputy president. So 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 is saying that is where all these problems began. What is your take?
One, thank you so much for that question, and thank you, Prof, for clarifying that point. Stupid.
Yeah.
He's not stupid. He might be a liar. We know him as a liar. We might be saying he's a thief and so on and so forth. But one thing you can assure you, Ruto is not stupid. And that is why, even though the people had chosen Kindiki to be his running mate before, he went for Gachagua because he knows he wanted somebody he can control. You know, Ruto is this kind of leader who wants you to be there only saying, yes, sir. No opposition at all. But he's now realizing that after Gachagua came in, possibly he got some advisors who are advising from the background, or possibly, and I think this is the most likely scenario. You know, the fight about impeaching 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝘀 is not about leadership. This is not a question of leadership. This is a question of the spoils they are sharing. Like Prof has said, the other day, my friend 𝗪𝗀𝗻 was just a class ahead, 2 classes ahead of me in college. He was wearing was it a 20 million watch?
Yeah, 20.
Who does that? This is a boy who went to school barefoot. He doesn't even feel that if I do this, there are possibly people out there. And as we say this, the universities at the moment are not able to pay lecturers to teach. So what kind of leader does that? As Prof said, I want to agree. When Ruto got people into power that he can control, somehow remember, you looked at the Nation headline today, was it 200 or 400 billion?
400.
That cannot be
explain
how this money was used. When I get into power and put you in a strategic position, the wisest thing for a businessman to do, and I said this and I want to repeat, only philosophers should be allowed to lead a country, not business people. When we put business people in power, these are people who are driven only by profit, nothing else. I've seen people, even my friends who do business, they take an item here for maybe 2,000 shillings and go to sell at 10,000 shillings. Yes, that is business, but is it fair? It is not fair. So Ruto put together a team of people that he wanted to control, and those he knew he might find it difficult to control, he gave them money. A lot of money to tie them around him. So that, as the Prof says, anytime you lift your head, he reminds you, remember, you will need to account for this money. And this is why I work in the financial services sector. And some of the products we not take, for you to make $1 million, it takes time. But let me give you an example of one of the shocking things I've observed. I know a friend of mine from where I come from. Just a few years ago, this person, I'll not say whether it is a lady or a man, was asking me for bus fare here in town to go to the house.
The person X, use the person X.
Person X was asking me for fare to go to the house. After the last election, this person was among the lucky ones who got nominated to one of the county governments. Today, as we speak, the person X is building a very large, I think it is an entertainment joint or something. And I saw the latest I saw on social media the other day. This person was telling people, very soon I'm inviting you for official opening. And this is a nominated MCA who has never done a business. How much is the salary of an MCA today?
Is it even 100, Prof?
Yeah, it's about 100.
110, around 110, 120.
Now, this property, in my estimation, is costing over 10 million. Where did this person get 10 million? Within a span of 2 years. That is why I said these are some of the things, the tricks politicians use to bring people close to them so that they control them. And whatever they say or do goes. I told you I don't want to be a spreader of rumors. But just 2 days ago, 2 days or 1 day ago, in one of the foreign capitals, somebody posted on social media But I don't know if it is a coincidence. But you know, this name 𝗧𝗏𝗍𝐿 has a meaning. If you are just walking in Germany and you saw a place labeled 𝗧𝗏𝗍𝗏 and you are a Kenyan, what comes to your mind?
Ruto's home. Ruto's area.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So apparently a new, but not a new, a very old row of buildings has been purchased by somebody, and that property has been renamed 𝗧𝗏𝗍𝗏 in a foreign capital in Europe. How do you explain that? Could that be part of the 400 billion we are talking about that they are not supposed
It's not accountable.
I know even in developed countries, when you get elected into such a position of leadership, you have to be accountable to the people. This idea of hiding behind, even in the security sector, at least there should be some level of accountability so that we don't just have a container of money there that you can just use without accounting. This money is people's taxes. We sweat to pay taxes.
So Mr. Honorable Dan, this is statement of Gathoni that this issue began just immediately. This Rigathi Gachagua was given this position to become the deputy president. Is it like after these guys had after William Ruto had taken Rigathi Gachagua, these people met somewhere and said that okay, let us give them time. Then after giving them time, it will reach a point that now will hit the head on the nail on the head and now start this issue of impeaching Rigathi Gachagua.
That is the most likely scenario. When Rigathi came in, with all due respect, even his dressing was a bit out of
Yeah.
He actually, to say the truth, looked like a villager. In fact, at some point, somebody called him a villager.
Let us not mention, but everybody knows. And I also saw 𝗪𝗏𝗍𝗪 also wants to go on that track.
Yes,
by the way,
𝗪𝗏𝗍𝗪 should work on his dressing now. He's our finance minister. He better consult me. I know one or two things about.
but Professor 𝗪𝗏𝗪 said that the status cannot allow John Mbadi to put on very well.
and possibly that is one of the reasons he was put there, because through Mbadi again, they are putting Raila in the pocket like they did last time during the Uhuru. You know, just before the 2018 handshake, there was a 340 billion euro bond that was coming, and Raila was encouraging people to go on the streets. So after money exchanged hands and there was a handshake, we never heard anything about those billions. And let me mention something else. If we look at and this is the impact of those secret deals, how long have we had the Ministry of Sports in this country with a budget?
Can't remember.
And you see, it is shocking that our own national team goes to play in Uganda. Because we don't have facilities here in this country. When we have a Ministry of Sports that has a budget every year, there are men and women who have been in the Ministry of Sports for all these years.
But they are saying that they are building stadiums.
Is it possible at some point we call these people to explain where the money went? Because we know money was allocated.
So, Prof,
yes.
This issue, can you adjust on it at least? We also hear your thought. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗧 Kindiki now being pushed to become the Mount Kenyan kingpin.
First of all, I want to say that 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗧 Kindiki will never be Mount Kenya kingpin, and William Ruto knows that. And also William Ruto do not really want Mount Kenya to have a kingpin, because William Ruto feels like he's the Mount Kenya kingpin. And by the way, we could sell this during the campaign.
And Professor, you mentioned something, I think before we started the conversation, before we started this, when we were having a chit chat, you said that William Ruto does not love Mount Kenya.
Yeah, he does.
Can you tell?
Actually, I'm coming there.
Okay.
You know, if I love you as a people, I will give you a good leader. That's what I'm coming to. That 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏 Kindiki will never ever be Mount Kenya kingpin. He cannot be. And William Ruto does not want Mount Kenya to have a kingpin. What he's doing, he's playing his own politics for self-interest. Because why I was saying that William Ruto hates Mount Kenya. I remember in the Gospel of John, when Jesus was just about to go to heaven, he said that, Father, I pray that they remain one. And Father, I have kept them as one. I've kept all of them together except the one who chose to get lost. That is Judas. And that prayer is normally a prayer that a father says on their deathbed. When a father is dying, the father prays that the family remains one. There is no father who prays that when I die, all of you to remain divided and fight each other. So William Ruto went to Mount Kenya with a strategy, pretending that Uhuru Kenyatta has betrayed him and pretending that now he become the legitimate Mount Kenya. And if you want to say what I'm trying to say is, listen to all Mount Kenya MPs who are supporting Ruto. They said that Rigathi Gachagua was not elected. He was selected by William Ruto, meaning that the position that Rigathi Gachagua holds on behalf of Mount Kenya was given by William Ruto, not Rigathi Gachagua in his own person. And therefore, now Kindiki, being brought by William Ruto, will also be told that, remember, you are not the Mount Kenya Supremo. We selected you and made you the leader, so you report to me. You know, Raila Odinga does not report to William Ruto as the leader of the Luo community, isn't it? Kalonzo Musyoka does not report to William Ruto, isn't it? And Joho does not report to William Ruto as the leader of the coastal people, isn't it? It is only Mount Kenya that William Ruto believes that anybody who is the leader of Mount Kenya reports to him. Remember when William Ruto goes to Mount Kenya, he says, Muriege, Muriegerega, Muriegarege. He greets them as if he's speaking their language. He talks to them like he's the kingpin. Remember even when 𝗂𝐵ack𝐵 died? In 𝗂𝐵ack𝐵's burial in 𝗂𝗃𝐻, listen to that speech. He was speaking to them like he is their son, and that he is now a son of 𝗂𝐵ack𝐵 also, and that he is going to further 𝗂𝐵ack𝐵's legacy. He was taking the ownership. So according to me, the issue of Kindiki, if Kindiki is a wise man, let him disassociate with these things immediately. And if he wants to become the kingpin of Kikuyu community, let him come in his own right, not through William Ruto. I'm also a kingpin of Luo community. I don't want Raila to endorse me, isn't it? I want to become in my own right, isn't it? I'm not saying that I play the politics of kingpinship. I'm trying to say that if the Luo community can decide to abide in me as someone who can be their voice on matters that affect them, it should not come from anyone apart from the people.
From the people, yeah.
So Rigathi Gachagua's position never came from the people. Now Kindiki will not come from the people. And the wise man called William Ruto is a student of Moi. Moi ensured that in Ukambani, he had Mulu Muteswa. Mulu Mutisia was Moi's person for Ukambani. Who made him? It is Moi. Whom did he report to? Moi. You come to Mount Kenya, Kamotho, Joseph Kamotho was the Supremo for the Mount Kenya people. Who chose him? Moi. Whom did he report to? Moi. And you can spread this even to Noah Katana Ngala in Coast. That history has been there, whereby the de facto leader is the one who has made you. And that's why Odingas were a bit wiser than that. And that's why they opposed the sitting president. And they came in their own right. Raila Odinga came in his own right. Yeah. And there's no sitting president that made him. That's why Moi had to have a handshake with Raila Odinga when they formed LDP coming together with KANU, isn't it? Why didn't he do that with Kalonzo? Because he's the one who made Kalonzo through Mulu Muteswa, isn't it? Then another thing, when 𝗂𝐵ack𝐵 became president, again he had to have a handshake with Raila Odinga in his own right. You understand? Uhuru had to go through the same thing. Again, handshake with Raila in his own right. You get me? And now even Ruto discovers that he never made Raila. He has to make a handshake with Raila in his own right. So if you look at that same trend, you don't see it in Mount Kenya. So Rigathi Gachagua is a fake kingpin for Kikuyu people. He's not even a spokesperson for Kikuyu community.
But Prof,
the current supremo for Kikuyu is Uhuru Kenyatta.
And in fact,
without passing through the door of Uhuru Kenyatta, Gachagua's, the Kindikis are Ruto's kingpins. They are not for Mount Kenya people.
Just on that, Prof, was it on Sunday when Rigathi Gachagua was being interviewed by some?
Yes.
It was on Sunday.
Yeah.
It was asked the issue of kingpinship of the mountain. And I think Rigathi Gachagua made it clear that the kingpin of Mount Kenya is not even him. So he's separate. He's taking himself out of that. He's clearing the air, just like the man who washed his hands. Like, I'm not the kingpin of Mount Kenya.
Yes.
The person who is the kingpin of Mount Kenya is 𝗪𝗲𝗹𝗃 Kenya.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, no. During the campaign, he didn't say that.
Yeah.
During the campaign, he was the kingpin.
Yeah.
But he has discovered that he's a kingpin with no political party. There is, you cannot be a kingpin of Mount Kenya community when you don't even have a political party. Matiba was, because Matiba had a political party for the Sili with so many MPs with him.
Yeah.
You get me? Kibaki had. Kibaki could call a PG meeting. Can Gachagua call a PG meeting?
Cannot.
Of which party?
Yeah, he has got no party.
So, Uhuru Kenyatta can actually call through Jubilee.
Yeah.
So, Kindiki, I'm told he's a fake kingpin because Kindiki can call which people? Kindiki's meeting will be organized by Ruto for him. If the MPs of Mount Kenya needs to meet Kindiki, like the ones he did, and this is a very important point I want to make.
Okay.
You saw when Kindiki was met by some MPs for Mount Kenya and endorsed him as the kingpin for Mount Kenya East, isn't it? Those ones were arrangements made by William Ruto. You see, if you are to do a wedding, and I'm the one who has mobilized all the guests, priests, everything, plus the bride. You just attended the wedding ceremony. Are you the bridegroom? Are you the bridegroom?
No.
You are not.
You're not.
Because even all the maids, best maid, even all those women who are dancing for you, it is me. The flowers there, it is me who organized. You just attended. So Kindiki just attended. Let me tell you what's happening in Mount Kenya. Somebody I know who is a political strategist came to consult me and was asking me about these things of Mount Kenya things. And in the end, his conclusion was that he wants to go and convince William Ruto to stage a division in Mount Kenya. That's why I tell you the second point. I said first, Ruto hates Mount Kenya because he's leaving them divided. Secondly, he has picked not the best and brightest of Mount Kenya to lead. I'm sure when I was growing up, my father looked at me and saw some talent in me and told me, my son, follow here because you can shine here. He told my elder brother, you can shine this way. So my elder brother is a priest. He was a catechist. He saw that maybe I cannot be a catechist or I can't be a priest. Everyone was given talent depending on what they can shine in. Me, I chose the issue of being a professor. Maybe you can say I'm shining there, isn't it? So the best, if you're a leader, you take the best and brightest of a community to make them shine. And William Ruto has been good in not doing the same. William Ruto picks the worst. Moi did the same. Molo Mutisia is not the most educated Kamba, isn't it? Noah Katana was not the intellectual mind. There were guys like Professor Masrui, isn't it? Why were they not put in government? Because they were brilliant. They will be independent. They'll speak their mind. If you come to, if you go to Western Kenya, Kenyatta pick the Musalias, isn't it? Musalias are not the brightest people in Western Kenya. And this has been replicated again with William Ruto. If you pick Gachagua as your running mate, that's why William Ruto picked Gachagua as a running mate, because he knew Gachagua is not very smart, isn't it? His dressing was highly questionable, isn't it? He's not highly presentable. He's not highly likable. And he has a dark history. Why do you think William Ruto is fighting Gachagua so hard, but Mount Kenya people are not giving the sympathy they should be giving? Because Mount Kenya has already had rejected Gachagua. Gachagua committed some of the worst crimes against Mount Kenya people, but on behalf of Moi. And because Ruto is a friend of Moi, Ruto knows. Ruto knows that Gachagua will never get the sympathy he's trying to look for Mount Kenya, even if he talks in Githurai for how long. Because Gachagua presided over the raping and sodomizing of 𝗵𝗶𝗀's wife. 𝗵𝗶𝗀 is highly respected by the Kikuyu community. How would the Kikuyus embrace such a person? The evil, I even see Gachagua on the Truth and Justice Reconciliation Report, are some of the people who caused mayhem in Rift Valley. Who will actually accept Gachagua? So if Gachagua was a wise man, isn't it? He needs to change his tact. So I'm telling you, William Ruto hates Mount Kenya, and he's giving them the worst. The person who killed them, as Gachagua, is their leader. You understand? Now Kindiki presided over the death of Kenyans during the Gen Z revolution. Whose children did he kill? He killed the children of Mount Kenya. Now they want to put him as the kingpin. It is impossible. So what I'm trying to tell you in short is that William Ruto is a smart person. If Mount Kenya is not careful, they remain leaderless for long, because since 2022, after they rejected Uhuru Kenyatta, who was their de facto leader, they are now having options between Gachagua,
Kindiki. They started with Ndindi Nyoro.
Isn't it? Ndindi Nyoro, Ichung'wah, those are non-starters. I relate a lot with Mount Kenya people. They are far much smarter, brighter people from Mount Kenya than these ones. And if at all Mount Kenya wants to go anywhere, they can go. I like what the Luo Council elders did. When they called some of us to continue having conversation with us about the leadership of Luo community, they were very clear that the benchmark is Tom Mboya. You see the brains of Tom Mboya, the brains of 𝗪𝗔𝗀, the brains of Robert Ouko. If you don't look like you are a visionary leader like those people, they never even cared. I've seen many people, maybe to divert this attention a little bit. They told me about how many people went there. Eliud Owalo went there. Look at Eliud Owalo and Tom Mboya. Would they be in the same room and have the same? They cannot. No. The P.S. Omolos. P.S. Omolo, isn't it? P.S. Omolo is a powerful person, but is he extremely brilliant? No. Where he is, if he was brilliant,
would have changed a lot of things.
The light could have been seen. You cannot have a candle put on top of the tower and you don't see any light. So they look at guys, I'm sorry to mention names, people like Babu Owino, isn't it? They look and say, Babu Owino, Tom Mboya, Robert Ouko, 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏. 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝐿𝑠𝐻𝗵𝗏 was in St. Mary's Yala, isn't it? Did Babu Owino go to a high school at the level of those lights? You know, those lights. So they compare those things. They went and look at this guy called this guy Otieno, who was in the TNA.
What do you call him?
Yeah, you remember those names. People like Dalmas Otieno. They went there. No. For us, at the moment, we made a mistake, isn't it? Because the Luos picked people who are not Luo elite by education. Raila Odinga was in that position by accident. That's why you are hearing a lot of questions about Raila's papers, isn't it? I'm sure if Raila had good papers, no one has ever questioned 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏's papers. Have we had someone discussing about his papers?
No.
𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏.
𝗏𝗏𝗏
no, isn't it? Even Oburu Odinga's papers are never discussed. Why are people discussing about his papers? So we don't want to make another mistake or rushing. So we also do not want to call someone and say you are the Luo leader. No. Leadership must emerge. No one endorsed Robert Ouko. No one endorsed 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. No one endorsed 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. The brightest people, we have seen them in all communities. Mazrui was never nominated or anointed. So Mount Kenya could have just been patient and allow the thugs to pass by. Let their best and brightest emerge, and they can't struggle to bring any because there are so many. Even if you go to the banking sector, go to the insurance sector, Mount Muranga boys are the ones who rule this town. Safaricom. Go to Safaricom.
That's true.
Go to Equity Bank. You go to Family Bank. all those things came from Mount Kenya. How can Mount Kenya be so bright like that that can run our economy, create a lot of jobs for young people, yet they cannot just have someone who can lead them in terms of politics? Politics is much easier to lead than economics. If they have been able to fix it economically, why not politically? So according to me, these people hate, William Ruto hates Mount Kenya because of what? Mount Kenya has a potential. Do you know why Mount Kenya has a potential? Mount Kenya is a community that can afford education more than any other community. And when people can afford education more than the other, they'll beat everybody. And this is why the envy is. Capital for business. Mount Kenya has capital.
Yeah.
Thirdly, Mount Kenya are industrious, hardworking people. Why the British feared Mount Kenya the most is because of those attributes. Do you know that Britain never liked Kenyatta? UK was never for Kenyatta. Because Kenyatta was leading a community of people with the highest potential. Very industrious, very productive people, very hardworking. You can see somebody in Mount Kenya in just a small farm, someone producing tomatoes and onions, isn't it? Mount Kenya has got a very small piece of land because they are very highly populated. But go to my place in 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏, vast piece of land, vast waters, unemployed people. People just believe they are victims of a government. People just sing baba, baba, baba. Those laziness, no one will really care. You understand? But Mount Kenya, people envy Mount Kenya for what I've told you. They have money to pay for education. They can take their kids abroad. They can take their kids to the best schools. In fact, I was a professor in Catholic University. Let me give you the numbers. When I was a professor in Catholic University and even in Strathmore, you go to an MBA class, like for example Strathmore, you find that you have more people in Mount Kenya doing an MBA more than any other community. And they are doing very well in the business which they are running. And they are also very smart in that class where they are. So even if Luo says naturally they are gifted by intellect, but if you cannot afford school fees, then you're out. Yeah, you're out. So Mount Kenya has everything working. And that's why William Ruto has to choose the worst. How is Gachagua a deputy president? Oh. You know, I struggled to sleep that night when these guys got elected, that Gachagua will be my deputy president. I struggled with it. So whatever Gachagua is trying to do now, being defended and the rest, his goose were cooked when William Ruto picked him as the vice president, deputy president. And Gachagua is clueless about what is happening in the group. Like now, how would a deputy president go and say, I have been removed from a WhatsApp group of the itinerary of the president? Why should you be involved in running the itinerary of a president? As a deputy president, don't you also have your own WhatsApp group where some people have to follow your itinerary?
But he said that he follows what the president does.
That is not his work. If he wants to follow where the president is, let him talk to the president, the chief of staff. There are other ways to know where the president is. And why does it matter? You understand?
That is the question.
Let me ask you, I'm a married man. I'm sure maybe this might look out of way, isn't it? I have given my wife absolute freedom, isn't it? I don't have to follow. Where are you? Can I create a WhatsApp group with my wife to know where she's going? Why should that bother me? Isn't it? I'm a man of substance, isn't it? Yes, I'm a self-assured man. Go wherever. I also wake up, go wherever. We have a bed to share. If there's something to discuss, we have to come back to our bed. She knows by night I'll sleep next to her, isn't it? My wife cannot create a WhatsApp group that I want to know where Fred is. I think those shows a relationship which is not working. Let me ask you, if I want to work with you, must be in a WhatsApp group together.
No.
So all these things simply means that the deputy president shows how ineffective he is. Why should you be there in a WhatsApp group to know where the president is going? What is I even find it absurd. Why should even be a WhatsApp group? Is that how dysfunctional Ruto's government is? Where his itinerary is being discussed in a WhatsApp group?
So that one just shows how incompetent this government is.
Yeah, so I've always told you the biggest problem we have in Kenya Kwanza government is the level of incompetence and also dysfunctional And then the issue of having proper ways of governing. Governance structure must be done in a certain way where the president issues executive orders, isn't it? As after president done executive orders, there's what you call ministers who does ministerial policies to run government. Then after that, you have what's called state departments that come with execution frameworks. Then the state agencies like KERA, that now execute those things that are coming from state departments. So even the way the president office is run, the other day when he was going to the US, he was the one booking a plane, talking to UAE, whether he goes with that plane or that one.
Prof, where that one came from, and sorry for
it's okay.
There is a point I mentioned where Ruto wants to be in control. And a good example is the booking of the plane. How would a president be in charge of booking a plane? I
his own plane.
Understand that one. And this brings me to this point. Picking from what Prof has said, when you don't like people, you give them a bad leader. Now, I'm not saying Kenyans are bad on themselves, but we happen to have given ourselves the worst leader in the name of William Ruto. And I don't know what happened because I was part of the anyway.
In fact, you are part of the team
I was part of the team that really supported Ruto. Do you know why? Because we were doing what we call a protest against the handshake that had happened in 2018. And later I wrote something and told people the biggest obstacle to Kenya achieving its real independence is somebody called Raila Odinga. Do you know why? Every time we are almost getting there, he comes with a handshake and messes up everything. On 25th of June this year, when I believe there was a very clear vote of no confidence in the government, in the whole of
judiciary and all the executive.
So when the young people broke into parliament, that is the time when we should have had the real revolution we've been looking for all this time. What does Raila Odinga do? He goes and has a handshake with Ruto.
But I think, Mr. Dan, there was no proper planning for the genes. Okay, there was that revolution. Okay, let's say for instance, the revolution was done. And then after William Ruto is taken out of office, I know some people will argue saying that the office could have been vacant and then maybe the speaker takes over, or maybe the attorney general takes over, or maybe the chief justice takes over. But it was not very clear. And on the other hand, I also feel like at least Raila tried to, not that I'm defending Raila, but we are in a discussion. It's like I felt like at least there is something that Raila at least saved Kenyans from the deaths and all that. Just continue.
That is what many fearful people think.
Yeah, so I'm a fearful person.
Raila actually didn't save Kenya.
Yeah.
He just postponed the problem. This thing will happen whether people like it or not. A time is coming when there will be nobody to stand and prevent it from happening. And I want to thank the president also because he's actually, the other time they were saying who is funding this Gen Z.
Yeah.
Do you know Ruto is funding them indirectly by making the wrong decisions he's making every day? Because every day you wake up, there is a problem. Now, I don't know who came up with this wisdom of looking for jobs for young people.
He's the one.
We need jobs here. And the reason we supported Ruto at that time, Ruto was not the best, by the way. He was not the best. But in the absence of the best, Ruto became the best and we put him in power.
Not that Ruto was, no that they were not the best people. People were there. But now, being that even 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 talked about it during the interview by saying that Ruto is a very recessive person.
Let me tell you what happened.
Professor.
Let me tell you what happened before Prof comes in.
No, just continue.
Ruto was just a bit more organized than other people. Two, Ruto got what we call sympathy votes, including my sympathy vote, because I felt he was being mistreated as the deputy president. That is why we were asking questions. Why don't we have people going to court so that we get the evidence of this theft they are saying he has been doing? Ruto is today doing the same thing to 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪. forgetting that it is because of what Uhuru did to him that he got our support. Many of us supported him for free. We didn't even ask for. Many times we were called even by the office of the president then, and we were being offered money to support Baba. But we said no, because we thought this is a good man. By the way, when you listen to Ruto for a minute or two, that guy will convince you. That is the only gift he has.
Yeah.
But in terms of running the country, zero.
So anyway, what I want to say, Boniface, with a lot of passion, my biggest disappointment is that today I looked at the Nation Standard headline newspaper for the last 50 days. And I only saw the discussion about leaders. It's about leaders. Somebody wants,
but in a negative way.
Yes. Somebody wants to go to AU. Somebody wants to move from being an MP to becoming a CS. Like now, 𝗪𝗃𝗪 said today that
is pressurizing so that Kindiki can become the deputy president and he replaces Kindiki.
Yeah, so that's what we are discussing. But we are not discussing why a government comes to place. What is the role of a government? Is to put food on the table to the people. Is to ensure healthcare is guaranteed, to ensure education sector. So there are two types of headline. There is the headline where it's about our leaders, but the other part is that now inside the newspaper is when you're hearing that there is no medicine, isn't it, in hospitals. Then you hear this road has been blocked. Then you hear that education funding model is not working. Those ones rarely hit headline. And if they hit headline, they hit headline when they're saying the president has appointed a commission of inquiry to look into it. So my question is, even if 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 fights with William Ruto and Kindiki until the end of 2027, is William Ruto going to be electable?
Thank you, Professor.
And if we are continuously discussing about these things of the rest, and I can tell you, Dan, what I told you there when we were discussing is very important. When you hear a politician saying, I am being sidelined, it is not about the position they hold. It's about the money that they are not making. In fact, if you saw that, you saw the other time I saw you when 𝗵𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 was complaining that William Ruto is a bad governor. 𝗵𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 actually endorsed William Ruto, isn't it? Before 𝗵𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 endorsed William Ruto, you thought there was nothing was promised.
It was promised something.
So did he get it?
No.
So when you hear now 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 Gachagua saying that he has been sidelined, he's out of the WhatsApp group, isn't it? How does that put bread on the table for the people from Madeira?
Yeah.
When he now talks as if he's defending Mount Kenya, is he defending Mount Kenya for their businesses to thrive? Because Mount Kenya people do not need handout from Rigiji.
Yeah, that's right.
Mount Kenya people fed themselves before Rigathi Gachagua.
During Uhuru's time, they were feeding themselves.
So what they are looking for, is that right to continue feeding their families, isn't it? Growing their businesses. Maybe Mount Kenya had a dream that they'll work so hard and one day become as rich as Europeans, isn't it? And break away from this vicious cycle of poverty. But now Rigathi Gachagua is only back fighting alcohol, isn't it? Now they are fighting alcoholism. Now Rigathi Gachagua has fought alcoholism. Until now, alcohol has begun fighting him now. So he's going to be getting impeached. So you look at the battles our politicians pick, they are small battles. The bigger battle is, and I mark my words, 60% of young people are unemployed. 20% are underemployed. So having 80% of young people who cannot have a secured future. So I'm drawing this point because of what you discussed about Raila Odinga and the rest. For me, Raila Odinga is not the issue here. Raila Odinga has done his part. What we are looking at, how can we address this problem now? If William Ruto does not address this issue, Whether he succeeds to impeach Rigathi Gachagua, he has done nothing. Because I can tell you, even if Jesus Christ was to become the president of Kenya today, but the young people are 60% unemployed and 20% are underemployed, they will say Jesus must go. So the problem that we are solving here is about the issue of livelihoods for people. The comfort, like you see now, the comfort on the roads, security. How do you feel secure when you're walking at night? And then how do you think that your future is being taken care of? Will you look at your child in the eyes and tell them, Kenya has a plan for you?
No.
When you see any Kenyan born, when you look at any child born, you sympathize with them because they have been brought to a world where the future is not guaranteed.
Even if when you meet a woman, a pregnant woman on the road, you just sympathize with them.
Yes. When you're looking at retirement, there are some people who are going to reach the age of retirement before working. You understand?
So you retire before work.
These are the issues. This, for me, when you say, I have been betrayed, the people who are betrayed are Kenyans. Kenyans, not just from Mount Kenya only. Kenyans from all walks of life feel betrayed because instead of William Ruto working with Gachagua to ensure they can be able to deliver the baby, because even in analogy of marriage, they are now talking about the issue of marriage and betrayal, isn't it? Not everybody is happy in the marriage where we are, isn't it? So even for the sake of the children, we can come together and say, excuse me, we are in this marriage. Let's agree on one thing. That's no longer about me and you now. It's about me, you, and the children. So ignore your ego. Remove your ego. William Ruto should remove his ego. Gachagua remove his ego. Kindiki remove his ego. And focus on Kenya. And put the Kenya at the center of the discussion. You'll discover the conversation will be different. Now, even the Adani deal here, William Ruto is making the money alone. Rigathi Gachagua is outside.
Not aware,
Fertilizer business. William Ruto is building his own fertilizer company in Kajiado to now supply fertilizer to the farmers directly instead of importing. Cylinder. He's now having a cylinder manufacturing plant on Mombasa Road, isn't it? Now he wants to be the single manufacturer of cylinders. So all the gas companies have to buy from him. If you don't buy from him, you know you have problems.
But who will work on all these projects, yet he's sending Kenyans abroad?
You see what's happening is William Ruto has lost priority. Who will work? Does he care? Bon, you have to know, to Ruto, only two things matter. One, how rich can I get? And two, how powerful can I be? If you touch any of those two things, that's why, do you know why Gachagua is an enemy? Because Gachagua wants money and wants power.
Thank you, Professor. Just hold on there.
Anybody who wants money and power is the enemy.
Just hold on there.